Tomlin from Tomlin Harmonica Lessons here, and I thought that this week I could answer a question that I get asked a lot by students and people emailing in, which is, how should I practice harmonica? What is the best way to practice harmonica? So I like to break it down into three main sections, and this is what my practice routines are like, and it works very well for me and for my students. So the first thing that I really concentrate on is technique. So technique, this can be anything from practicing playing your scales, to practicing the pitch of your bends, to practicing some new techniques. So for example, if you're struggling with overblows, your technique practice could be focused on doing your overblows. Or your technique practice could be focused on playing a new scale that you're struggling with. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of 16th note patterns around the major pentatonic scales. That's what I'm practicing during my technique practice. I'm doing this kind of thing. So you can hear that it's a little bit wobbly. For me, thinking in 16th notes is actually quite difficult because I tend to think in triplets. So that's what my technique practice is at the moment. In the past, it's been things like making sure that I'm bending my 3-draw whole step bend enough. So I'll spend a third of my practice time just working on that. Okay, so that's a really important element of your practice, technique, and it can be anything that you're struggling with in particular. So scales are a very good, strong place to do it. I tend to practice my scales with a metronome, and I'm looking at a number of different things when I'm practicing them. I'm practicing to make sure that I can play clearly without making mistakes. I'm practicing to try and increase my speed and my stamina. So what I'll do is I will increase the metronome speed bit by bit over a few weeks. But really important to set your own personal goals for your technique practice and not to jump around a bunch of things. So you might be spending a couple of weeks just working on your breathing, or you might spend a couple of weeks working on hitting the 2-draw whole step bend. It doesn't matter. It's whatever is pertinent to what you're working on at the moment. So that's the first bit of your practice, technique. The second part of your practice, I think, should be repertoire. So that is either working on a new song, so you could be listening to a tune and transcribing it, and that is a really important exercise to be doing as much as you can, because that helps to build up your ear and your awareness of where the notes are on the instrument. Or it can be learning a song from a tab. That's also fine. But learning songs means that you can put the technique that you're practicing to use. And that's really important, because a lot of the time we just try and learn songs, but we don't practice the technique, so we can't play the songs. And the converse of that is a lot of people just practice technique and then they never do anything with it. And I'm guilty of that to a certain extent. I have a tendency to just get really focused on practicing my technique rather than channeling it into songs. So that's something I have to really think about. So learning a new song, really important. But also revisiting your old repertoire is also really important. Hopefully you've had the experience where there's a song that you've really struggled learning, but you've learnt it. And then 6 months later, you think to yourself, I wonder if I can still play that. And you think, oh wow, I can still play it. I'm playing it much better. Plus, I'm finding it a lot easier. So that's a really important thing to go back and revisit. So I tend to revisit things like that maybe once a week. And then the rest of the time I'm looking at learning something new. And if you can't manage learning a whole new song, try and learn a new lick. Just keep moving forward and adding. Always trying to add. So that's the second part of your practice routine. And then the third part of your practice routine is improvisation. So This can be playing over a backing track, playing over a 12-bar blues, for example, and using some new ideas. So you might be looking at root note targeting, or you might be looking at song forms and playing licks with a very specific structure. So maybe something like an ABC structure, where you're playing a lick for 2 bars over the first 2 bars, then you have a break, then you're playing the next lick over bars 5 and 6, then you have a break, and then you play the next 2 bars over bars 9 and 10. So you've got 3 licks over a 12-bar blues. That might be how you're thinking about improvising. Or you might be thinking about improvising using chord tones and arpeggios. Or you might be practicing using a specific scale. But whatever it is, you need to be practicing improvising. Even if you think to yourself, this sounds crap. Doesn't matter. You've got to embrace the suck. That's the most important thing. Because the sooner that you can get used to making those mistakes, the sooner you'll start eliminating them. You'll hear something that sounds bad and you won't do it again. Or you'll do it less and less and less until you'd stop doing it. And then you'll hear things that sound good, and you'll start doing them more and more and more, and you'll repeat them, and then you start developing your own voice on the instrument. So you can do that with a backing track, or you could do really simple improvisation exercises. You could do a little bit of vamping and do this kind of thing. But the key is always pushing yourself. So 3 main parts of your practice: technique, then repertoire, then improvisation. Okay? So we've got those as part of our practice routine. And then the next thing we need to talk about is playing. So playing the instrument's really important, but it's different to practicing. So if you're sitting and you're just having a little noodle around on your front porch, you're not trying to push yourself in any way, that's playing. Or if you are jamming with your buddies, that is playing. If you're on stage, that is playing. I have seen it so many times, and I've been guilty of it myself, where people go up on stage and they try and play a lick. And they're like, oh. And they do it again. And you're like, oh God, they're starting to practice on stage. Don't do that. Play what you can play comfortably and practice that lick at home. And gradually build up your confidence. And get comfortable with it, and then you can start using it in a jam situation or on stage. But don't practice on stage. No one wants to watch that, and it's not going to do anything for your playing. So make that distinction between practice and play. Practice is something that is focused and mindful and is aiming to push you further and make you better. Playing is enjoyable, and it should be enjoyable, and it's lighthearted, and it's non-judgmental. You're not listening to yourself and critiquing yourself while you're playing. That's what practice is for. So make sure that you don't overlap the two. It's really, really important. All right. Thank you so much for watching this lesson. Build up your own practice routines. And what I've done, I've actually done something that will make it a little bit easier for you. I've put together various checklists depending on what level you're at, whether you're a beginner, an advanced beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced intermediate player. So to get those checklists, all you need to do is click on the link in the description below to go to my website, where you can select what level you're at, and then put your email address in, and I'll send you a PDF checklist that you can print out, and then you can look at all the techniques that you should have to move on to the next level. So you can tick them off as you get them nailed. Quickly, before you run off, you can do one little thing for me. You can give me a thumbs up by hitting the like button below. And if you haven't done so already, you can subscribe to my channel, because I put out a new harmonica lesson every single Wednesday, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on next week's. All right, one more thing before you head off. I just have a little thing to tell you about, which is the Edinburgh Harmonica Workshop. So the Edinburgh Harmonica Workshop takes place from the 21st to the 23rd of July, and it's going to feature lessons from me, Liam Ward, Will Wild, and David Barrett. So these are some awesome teachers that I asked to come and teach and play harmonica for you. And there are just a few tickets remaining. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that harmonica weekend where you can get lessons and jams with those awesome players and teachers, just click on the link in the description below. Thank you very much, and I will see you on Wednesday.